Good evening. Also, I'm going to be reading about, and it's still unsolved, it's unsolved murder of Sheila Anderson. She was born in 1955 or 56. Also, they weren't sure when she was born. She was the 1983 was the murder of a sex worker in Edinburgh, which had been described as one of Scotland's most notorious unsolved murders. 27-year-old Mother Anderson was found run over, possibly repeatedly, at Gypsy Brae after she had sex with a client there. Anderson was known to be confrontational with clients and for having stood in front of their cars if they refused to pay, leading investigators to conclude that she may have been run over after such a disagreement. Also, she passed away on the 7th of April 1983. The time was about 11:54 p.m. on Gypsy Brae, Edinburgh, Scotland. The cause of death was run over intentionally and dragged by a vehicle, and the motive was unknown, intentional targeting of a sex worker. Forensics showed that the killer's car was painted red and also would have been heavily damaged by the act, with the police still appealing for anyone who remembers their partner suspiciously coming home with a damaged car around 1983 to come forward. Appeals have also been made for information from anyone who had been given a sexually transmitted disease by their partner around this time, since it was found that there was a 50% chance the killer would have had to seek treatment for one after the murder. Anderson's missing bag was found dumped after the killing at a car park by the A1 road going south from Edinburgh into England, suggesting that her killer may have travelled back to England after the murder. A full DNA profile of the killer was isolated in 2009, leading to renewed hopes that her killer could be caught in new appeals on Crime Watch. The case has also been noted for the long-term impact it had nationally in terms of changing police attitudes and procedures in regard to sex workers, and the case continues to receive public publicity. It's horrible knowing that somebody, it doesn't matter who they are, but to intentionally do that is absolutely disgusting. And with DNA, they find the person, and I hope they get found. But the way the systems are, I think everybody knows they will not serve a long time in the prison. Murder. Anderson was picked up by her killer while soliciting in Commercial Street in Leith. She was last seen only 30 minutes before she was found dead at Gypsy Brae, being sighted talking to a man by Linden House. Shows the picture where she was picked up. The last place that she was picked up, I was speaking to a gentleman. Anderson was a 27-year-old mother who had 2 children. At the time of their mother's murder, her children were aged only 2 and 7. Anderson worked as a sex worker, with her family stating that she had got in with the wrong crowd and become involved in drugs. Sadly, when you get into that world, it's... Come in. Let's put that there. Thank you. When you give it into that, oh sorry, it's just obviously my son, my cat's not feeling too well. He's an older cat, he's over 8 and he's just been sick because he's overweight. He's got it's when you overeat, what do? You end up being sick, don't you? So he's just bringing up with his overly ate because he's ate. Because I've got other cats, they only take wee bits at a time because they're more slower eaters. He's a faster eater, and he's kind of ate some of their food as well, and end up sadly bringing it up. But yeah, as I was saying, obviously she became involved in drugs and ended up in the world of being a sex worker. And it's like, and then it's like when you come into that world, it's like you're chasing for the next drug. It's like there's a lot of people that try and do help. People like this, and people are homeless and things like that. It's rather than keeping them on something, there should be something that there are things put in place for homeless and people who are on drink and are addicted to drugs or alcohol. There needs to be more done to help people, because at the moment there's not a lot. You think there's a lot, but there's not. But as I watch a gentleman called Billy Moore and I watch a young gentleman called Causey, they've been through it, and they said you need to want to help yourself in order for to say, right, I'm ready. Some people sadly aren't ready, and it's like, and sadly, especially women, and it's not just women, it gets into it for sex workers. There's young men that get into it as well, which is a shame. I mean, they go down this route. Her drug use had apparently made her argumentative and confrontational, as she was known to be with clients, and that is what drugs do to you, or alcohol do to you. Some people, it doesn't. You could be nonchalant with it, but some people it changes your attitude altogether, and you just you just want to argue and fight with everybody about you, and I do hope and pray that there's better things starting for people that really are. There's far too many. The amount of people are on that street that are on drinking drugs, it's heartbreaking. A lot of people say it's to do themselves. Sometimes it depends on the situation. A lot of people take it through trauma. There's so much, and so you don't judge a book by the front cover. Get to know that person. You don't know what they've been through to go on the streets at all. But if you can help with giving a sleeping bag or a tent, that'd be great. And if you've got a dog, get the dog some food and things and some water. Anything that can help somebody like that, they honestly appreciate it. Just a chat. Some of them just like to have a chat. Do you know what I mean? It's because people just look at them as if they're nothing, but you forget they are something. They just don't see it themselves. A lot of us do think like that, but we don't. A lot of us don't go down that route that these people do. At around 11:45 p.m. on the 7th of April 1983, a CB radio enthusiast was parked by the coast at Gypsy Bay, Edinburgh, a popular spot for CB radio users, as it was provided clear reception across the water from the Edinburgh seafront to Fife. The night the radio user spotted the headlights of a car which was unusually driving right by the seafront on the promenade where cars never usually drove, so he went to go investigate. When he drove over to where he had seen the vehicle driving, he found the body of Anderson, who had been brutally murdered. She had been run over and dragged by the vehicle. He had seen for a considerable distance, and the evidence showed that the car had run over her body at least once. Her belongings were found scattered across the crime scene. Her watch found next to her body had stopped at 11:45. They'll say when if somebody's wearing a watch, it's to do with the heartbeat, and if that stops, I mean that's approximately that's where they rule out the time of death if they can get if the person's wearing a watch. But not a lot of people wear watches nowadays because they've got their phones or they've got laptops they can just sit and thing with nowadays. A lot of people really don't watch. I mean, I don't wear, I used to wear a watch all the time when I was younger, but now because I've got the phone I just check on my phone for the time. Possibly exact time of her death. Her underwear was missing and never found, so it was presumably taken by an attacker. What is it with some of these guys do things like that? They always take items, so it means I don't think it had been his first. Anderson had been seen in the Leith area of Edinburgh earlier that night, an area with a well-known red light district, and also with a number of heroin users. The drug addict sex workers were said to be easy targets for predators. Sadly, they are, which is absolutely heartbreaking because it's like nobody cares. Anderson was regularly soliciting sex work on the streets of Leith and was well known, including to police. Around 11:25 p.m. that night, only about 30 minutes before her death, there had been a confirmed sighting of Anderson outside Linden House on Commercial Street in Leith, as police officers had spoken to her and seen her speaking to a man. It was around this time that she departed with a client that would kill her. If only the police, and I bet the police would have been gone if only we'd just stayed and spoke to her, kept her, done something to maybe have arrested her or something that would have prevented her, but then it would have went on and done something to me. Investigators found that Anderson had indeed had sex with the man she had gone with to Jepsbury, but could not explain why she had been killed by the man. Investigators would come to believe that it was likely Anderson had been killed by the client after she reacted to being unfairly treated by them or not paid. Since she was known to be confrontational with clients, she had potentially then stood in front of the cars until the client paid, but the murderer then responded by running her down. Other ex-workers recounted that Anderson had previously stood in front of clients' cars if they refused to pay, not allowing them to drive off until they did. In that line of work, you really need to be tough. You really, really need to be tough. Especially when it comes to things like that. And again, as I said, it's very sad that they get... I mean, I'm sure here in Scotland they got it banned because there was somebody going about murdering the sex workers in Glasgow and Edinburgh and about Scotland. So, I mean, I might, don't quote me on that, I might be wrong. But it's a shame, an absolute shame. Investigators found that the other's car would have been heavily damaged by the act and possibly written off. Deep red vehicle paint was found in Anderson's clothes, indicating the killer's car was red. It appeared to have come from an overspray of the underside of a rusty car. Appeals have been made for anyone whose partner came home at some point in 1983 with a damaged car, potentially with a suspicious story about how they got the damage, to come forward. It was found that there was a 50% chance that the killer would have a sexually transmitted disease, which he could have potentially have given to his partner, and would be remembered by them causing to police appealing for anyone who remembers them giving an an STD by a partner around 1983 to come forward. The man would have had to have sought treatment for this very soon after the crime. It depends on what sexual disease she's got, she had, and obviously given the man, because when it's transmitted, the man, with some women, they don't get it. They don't. I'm going to get some symptoms until you're going for tests and things. That's the only way they'll find it out. Investigators did not know whether the man had lived in Edinburgh or had just worked there, potentially on nearby oil rigs or in the construction. The theory that the man may have only been in the area for work was supported by the mysterious discovery of Anderson's handbag, which was dumped in a car park 17 miles away from the murder scene by the A1 road, which is a key road that goes south from Edinburgh over the border in England. Therefore, there was a theory that the killer may have come to the area for work purposes from England, then travelled back via this road. On 2 occasions, a sex worker contacted police saying she had information on the murder, leading to hope that the Anderson's killer could be brought to justice. Although she twice agreed to meet up with officers, she never turned up. I really do hope that they catch this person that did that. I mean, it's been a long time. I mean, I'm 49 now. I just turned 49 not long ago. So, I mean, as I said, I was 6 years old when this lady passed away. And it's a shame because she's left behind 2 children. And they'll probably, I mean, I don't know if they will be fighting for their mum. And I hope they do, because you do want justice for your family, because somebody knows something. Because I'm telling you just now, if your partner, right, your boyfriend, your husband came back with their car damaged in such a way, you would question it. And if you contracted a sexual disease, you'd be like, hey, wait a minute. And there's no way, unless they've convinced them, oh, it was only a one night stand or whatever, they might have not. Anyway, it's a lot to think, because the person could have been in a domestic violence relationship. But definitely that man's obviously, it wouldn't have been his first rodeo going to a sex worker, the way, especially by running a road, the way he ran a road and just disappeared. And it's absolutely disgusting that any individual can do this. It doesn't matter if it's a sex worker or not. She's still an individual. She's a mother. She's a daughter, sister. And deserves justice. And let's hope and pray that she gets that justice. I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to send them love and light and good night. And let's all come together rather than all divided, because it's no. I don't like seeing all the animosity between people arguing back and forth when we all have our disagreements, we all have our opinions, and it's okay to have that, but you've got to think logically who's getting us to do have these arguments. Right, well, send love and light and good night.